It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Nick Peters, all the way from London, United Kingdom. He's had a successful career in the dental industry for over 20 years, all-encompassing roles from being a dental technician to working for some of the biggest dental companies in the world like Dentsply, Sirona, Danaher, Ivoclar Vivadent, to name but a few. Currently, Nick is working for BTI Technology Institute, which is based in Spain, a leading organization in bone and tissue regeneration and the latest stem cell research. In his spare time, he is a creator and leading presenter for the Dental Talk Show, an exciting new resource for anyone interested in the latest dental or facial technology. In his spare time, he loves world travel, science, gadgets, rugby, beer, and learning about new technology. He looks forward to growing the Dental Talk Show into a leading informational resource for the dental industry. I called him up because I love his YouTube channel and the Dental Talk Show. So, Nick, tell us about your journey. First of all, you've been in dentistry 25 years?
Yeah, as soon as I left school, I had a weird, well, thanks very much first for letting me on the show, because I'm following Tony Robbins. I was a bit like nervous. I'm like the guy that invented, public speaking and things really, yeah. So the way I got started was really weird, really. It all started with horror films, believe it or not. I was a huge horror buff in my day. You'll probably see behind me I've got some statues of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and things like that. So when I was at school, I was very good with my hands, and I was really into special effects. So I sort of had a load of latex and things like that, but I also had impression taking material that I borrowed from a local dentist. And so I had a bigger makeup kit than most girls I know at school. And so when I left school, I thought a dental technician was quite a good fit because I was into making molds and casting and all that sort of thing. So it's quite a bit of a weird way to sort of get into dentistry, but that's how it all started.
Wow. So where was your first start?
In a laboratory in my hometown in Shropshire. I sort of did that for many years. Like being a dental technician was great because back in my day, you sort of could do apprenticeships, so you could learn on the job. So I did that for many years, but it wasn't until later that I actually went and got the qualifications and all the rest of it. But, you know...
So you were making, what, PFMs, gold crowns, partials, dentures? What were you making?
Well, yeah, that's the good thing about learning when I did, because a lot of dental laboratories I visit now, they're very production line. So you're sort of stuck in one sort of role. If you were good at maybe dentures, that's the job you're going to be doing. But back when I did it, I did crown and bridge, I did orthodontics, I did dentures. I wouldn't say I was brilliant, hence why I'm doing the stuff I'm doing now, and I'm not a dental technician anymore. But, you know, I covered a lot of areas. I was just vaguely okay at all of them. I was never spectacular.
I wish every dentist, if they could use a lab locally, they should, because when they go in there humble and ask the dental laboratory technician who's getting impressions from, 100 different dentists and say in a humble way, how is mine? And how many of those dentists could you have helped do better dental laboratory procedures if they came in there and asked for help on how they could be better?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We used to be so scared of ringing the dentist, like especially if the impression was off slightly and it wasn't quite fitting, to ask them to get the patient in again. We'd all be sort of picking straws, basically, who was going to make that phone call, because we know we were going to get an earful, because no way was it going to be the impression. It was going to be down to something we did wrong. And yeah, I mean, nowadays, thankfully, I think a lot of dentists work very closely with their laboratories, and they're the most successful ones, really, because, they've got to take the credit for especially in this digital age with everything going CAD-CAM and all the rest of it,
Well, it's the same skill at home and work and with your labs. If people are afraid to bring you bad news because you'll shoot the messenger, then you're not going to get very far in life. I mean, your children aren't going to tell you their problems. Your spouse isn't going to tell you your problems. Your employees aren't going to tell you your problems. Everybody's afraid of you, and then you wonder why you're failing miserably. And very few people make everyone feel safe to bring them bad news.
And also, we found that people would not tell us, and they'd just move lab. So before you knew it, you go, oh, they've not sent any work in the past couple of weeks. And then you'd ring them up and they go, oh, no, you cocked a job up. They've sent the work elsewhere. And you're like, well, if they'd come back and actually discussed it, we could have found a solution and maybe found what was at fault and then alleviate that fault. But we find that, well, I used to find that they used to just go elsewhere, and that is when you know there was something bad happened. You wouldn't even hear sometimes that anything was wrong.
Yeah, and it could have easily been very bad because they were sending you the worst impressions of everyone you were working with.
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah, I mean...
But you think the dentists today are more humble than they were 25 years ago?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say humble. We've got some people in our industry, especially in the UK. It's amazing. That's why I love this being in the UK. There's quite a lot of dentists and people in the dental community, but it is a community. Everyone knows everybody else. When I go to the parties or go to shows, it's all the same people. And when you've been in the industry as long as I have, you know, you get to know people, so many people, and party with these people. And so it's a lot easier now to communicate. I think, you know, there's no reason not to now, because with mobile phones, obviously, you can actually take a picture in the chair of what the problem is and send it to your technician. There's, you know, if a technician's got a problem with the company I'm working with now, one of the components or something, they can just take a snapshot. So things are a lot simpler now, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I can't believe in my lifetime that I saw the death of the PFM. I mean, that was the hot new thing when I was in the 80s, and now it's all replaced with CAD CAM.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I've started my dental talk show, really, is because I'm quite into new technologies and things, and the best way to find out, I thought, find out these new technologies is actually go visit the people. But to have an excuse to visit these people, I sort of needed some sort of show. So I thought of having a dental talk show, because I get all my information now from YouTube. I don't read much now. I tend to not have the time, and people just got 5 minutes in a lunchtime. So I thought, what if I do like a little video of the latest things going on that people can sort of watch in their lunch times? And so that's the way I found out about these new technologies, is I've got this excuse now of a dental talk show where I can go talk to people about the latest things, the latest CAD CAM, and it's good for people like me, because I'm a complete nerd, as you can probably tell with my sword behind me.
Well, if anybody's listening and they want to explode their YouTube videos, just start a thread on Dental Town, and then when you go to post, you know, when you go to your YouTube channel and you click share, it gives you a link. But if you click the next button over, it says embed. You can pick up the whole embed, and then you go to the Dental Town post, click the YouTube button, drop the embed in there, and now your YouTube, the whole video is right in that post, so they can watch it. It's free marketing, and then it takes them right to your YouTube channel, so you get a like, but then they can subscribe to your YouTube channel. I love your YouTube videos.
Thank you. Yeah,
Mostly
I mean,
I just love listening to your accent, but I like the information too.
Cheers, man. I appreciate that. But like those first couple of shows were probably terrible. It's amazing how many. I didn't think I made it until I got my first troll, you know, saying how crap I was. But I think, you know, you have to start somewhere. So, like, obviously, the first couple of shows, I was getting used to the editing, and I've got the luxury of doing jump cuts, unlike this interview we're doing now, where I could just cut all the rubbish out. Because I shoot it in my office, and it's just me there, and you feel so stupid talking to a camera on your own in the room in the house, and I get it wrong so many times. So those first few episodes, anyone who watched those, please forgive me.
How many videos have you made?
60 so far. The last one was maybe about a month ago, and that one was quite interesting. That's about facial aesthetics, because facial
plasma facial rejuvenation, PRGF.
Yeah. So my day job, because my dental talk show is my sort of hobby really, is to work for the Biotechnology Institute. We're based in the Basque region of Spain. If you like Rioja wine, that's why I work there, because it's right in the Rioja region. But it's an amazing institute that does a lot of research and development in the use of blood plasma. And it was founded by a dentist called Dr. Eduardo Anitwa. And he's like a pioneer to do with the protocols to do with plasma-rich and growth factors. Because
does he speak English, or is he Spanish or English?
he's Spanish, but he speaks brilliant English. And he travels the world now. He does.
I'd love to have him on the show. Fix me up with him.
I will fix you up, because he's an amazing guy, and he's the guy that sort of pioneered the technology. But I can sort of parrot some of the information because I work for the company. But basically, the idea has been around for about 50 years. So when you cut yourself on your arm, what is it that heals it? It's the growth factors that's in your blood, specifically in your plasma. So that idea has been around for a while, and somehow a way of using it has been around for about 50 years. But the protocols have been very long-winded. You used to have to take tons of blood, and then the results at the end of it were meh, okay. So this is where Eduardo sort of streamlined the protocols to where we are now with them, where you don't have to take very much blood. You do one cycle in a centrifuge. It's very simple, and you've got a control, and also you've got about 4 hours in which to play with it. And also we've done over 200 index studies now with PRGF. So it's a proven thing to work, whereas before it was, you know.
So PRGF, platelet-rich growth factor?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And how much blood do you need? Because one of the things that dentists don't like to do is start an IV. How much blood do you need, and is it still drawing blood like?
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's 49cc tubes is the average you take, and from that you can get a really good graft and a really good membrane, and maybe even a little bowl of liquid that you can collect bits of bone in. So when you're drilling, we also do a very slow drilling protocol with no irrigation, about 90 RPM, and any bit of bone that we get on those drills, we stick back into the plasma, and it acts like a glue and glues it all together into a really nice graft. But we've got, yeah, that is the hardest part, I always say, is taking the blood. Me, you could throw a dart and you could hit a vein with me, but other people.
What I do is I do all my surgeries at night when it's dark, and I have a vampire from a horror movie come in and draw the blood.
Exactly. When I'm doing the training, I'm usually going one for you, one for me, one for you, one for me. So yeah, I mean the protocols have evolved now. So it's 4 9cc tubes on average. That's enough to do, you know, a couple of extraction sockets. If you're doing like a big sinus lift and ridge expansion, you'd probably need a few more tubes of blood, but not really that much, maybe 8. 4 9cc tubes equates to about 2 tablespoons, so it's not much blood.
Again, 9 cc's is 2 tablespoons, or 4 9cc tubes is
4 9cc's is 2 tablespoons. Yeah,
2 tablespoons. See, the Americans, we have messed up metrics. We don't have metric or anything because we inherited the system from you guys.
Yay!
We still measure things in feet and inches and hands.
We measure it in
does the UK, did they switch to metric?
Well, we'll see with Brexit. It might more switch back. Who knows? We got you know, the elections today, so we don't know what we're going to wake up to tomorrow. We might all go back to.
You know, the most interesting piece of history about America was when they created the Constitution. They voted on the language, and English only beat German by 2 votes. And imperial math only beat metric by 1 vote. So America was 3 votes away from speaking German using the metric system. That's how many, and the reason there were so many Germans is because, you know, most of the people that came here were religious groups fleeing the Catholic Church, and the Lutherans, Martin Luther was out of Germany. There were just so many German Protestants protesting against the Catholic faith, but we were almost a German metric, but now we're an English Imperial math. So 4 9cc tubes is only 2 tablespoons. A cc is just about the volume of a nickel, an American nickel, right?
Yeah, I've got a packet here. Hang on, let me open it up, and I'll show you on the camera. So this is like a packet that you get, and this is for a patient. So it's got everything you need in here for a patient, and so that's 1 9cc tube. So up to, can you see that?
Yeah.
So that's 1 9cc tube up to there. So I don't know what that is.
And if you want to get more information on these guys, I always retweet your last tweet. So because they're all driving to work, they can't write anything down. So your Nicholas Peters at Dental Talk Show. So I retweeted at Dental Talk Show, which is you, Nicholas Peters, and then I also retweeted your company, BTI Biotechnology, which is at BTI Biotech, and of course the biotech, all those are in Spanish, but remember on Twitter, there's that little light blue translate, and the last tweet was course clinical applications of technology indirect at PRGF, and just amazing technology.
Yeah. We have people from all around the world. We've got an office in North America as well. But we have people from all around the world visit our institute and learn about the use of plasma-rich and growth factors, because the sort of results we're getting and the applications you can do, it sort of saves you on doing bone grafting. Like we have been doing a lot of stuff, and I did one episode on my show with King's Hospital on bronze patients, so bisphosphonate-related osteonecrosis of the jaw. So it's basically when the patients are on bisphosphonates, there's no vascularization there. And so these are real problem patients. You know, you've got bone just drops out, really. You don't even have to take it out. It just drops out because there's no vascularization there. It stinks as well. So that's really bad because you've just got dead bone in your mouth. So the use of PRGF can be used as a prevention in terms of using it in socket preservations and things like that. You're actually going to never have a dry socket, but also as a treatment after you've taken that bone, you pack it with the PRGF gel that you've made from the patient's blood, and you can get fantastic results. We've done many studies in these sort of applications, but you know, we can get Eduardo on the show, and he can explain it probably better than me.
I would love that, because one of the problems we're having now is now there's been so many millions of implants placed, and in 5 years, 20% of them have peri-implantitis, and people are trying to figure out what are predictable ways to clean peri-implantitis. Can you flap it? Can you grow bone around it? Are you guys having any luck using this treating peri-implantitis?
Yeah, we are. In fact, Eduardo has written an entire book on peri-implantitis.
Peri-implantitis, a new approach for prevention and treatment, then raise it up a little higher, by Dr. Eduardo Anidua?
Yeah, Anidua, yeah.
MD, DDS, PhD, unbelievable. Man, tell him he's got to come on my show and write a article for Dental Town magazine and put an online CE course on Dental Town. It'd be the best way. It'd be the fastest, freest, quickest way to hit 225,000 dentists in 220 countries. Because implants, I mean, it's just, you know, when I got out of school in the 80s, what was happening is there was a materials revolution, making all these new materials, which led at the dental office to the cosmetic revolution, bleaching, bonding, veneers. And then the 90s started this digital revolution, which allowed for CBCTs, digital x-rays, and I mean, now it's moving so fast. I mean, between the greater materials, the faster computers, like CAD-CAM, they were actually building CIRAC when I was in dental school in France. But the problem with the CIRAC machine is that the computers were so slow and the RAM memory was so limited that the programmers the constraints were the size and speed of the computers. But as the Intel microprocessor got faster and faster and faster, CERAC got better and better and better until finally it was an amazing piece of technology. So,
Yeah.
but right now, don't you think implants is the fastest growing part of the clinical dentistry spectrum? Would you say it's implants?
Yeah, but getting back to what you were saying about the failures, we're seeing a lot of failures here in the UK, and peri-implantitis is a big problem. We've actually invented a sort of a product which would extract implants by fitting into the internal thread of the implant. So you can basically torque the failing implant out using this device rather than defining the whole implant and all the bone with it.
So instead of treffing around it, so you avoid treffing around it?
Yeah, so you basically counter torque it at 200 newtons. We've got these different ends that fit internal or external implants. And that's unfortunately, well, fortunately for us, but unfortunately, a show of the trend is that we sell a lot of these because there's a lot of falling out implants. Just this week, I've been to 2 cases where implants are failing. And it's nothing to do with the implant per se, because the implant companies were very well-known, respected implants. But in the UK, we've got a problem with people going abroad and getting their implants done cheaply, which is okay. I mean, some of these surgeries are really great and state-of-the-art and all the rest of it, but it's the aftercare, the post-care after they've had their implants, you know. If the implant abutment comes loose, there's no way of screwing it in. They usually know.
But remember, you're talking to a dentist, and if the crown doesn't fit, it's a lab's fault. And if the implant doesn't work, it's because you went home and started smoking and drinking and eating ice cream. So it's always the lab patient's fault and the patient. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with that.
Well, and also when you get more comfortable with a procedure, you get a little more aggressive. Like you start placing them in people that smoke a pack or 2 a day that are daily drinkers that don't do anything right. So, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on in these failures.
But implants is a big area in the UK market, but it's not as big as a lot of people think it is. Because we have everyone that's got a garden shed starting to manufacture their own implants, and they come to the UK thinking it's a booming market. But people are going to stick to their traditional, well-known implants because there's quite a lot of here today, gone tomorrow companies out there. And plus another thing that we've got as a challenge in the UK is the NHS, in terms of people aren't used to paying for stuff, and implants aren't covered on the NHS. So you've got 3 bands basically. You've got band 1, which is like X-rays, a scale and polish, which costs you about £20. Then you've got band 2, which is like fillings and root canals. And then you've got band 3, which is £244, and that covers crowns, dentures, bridges. So can you imagine the quality of the dentures people are getting for £244 after you take out the dentist fee?
Okay, so band 1 is how much?
£20.60.
Okay, £20. And what would what £20 would be in US?
It's about it's about $30, is it, or something?
Okay, yeah. So £20 or $30 US. Band 2, okay, that's for cleaning exams and exams and X-rays.
No, band 2 is for fillings, root canals.
No, band 1.
Band 1 is X-rays and band 1 is X-rays and scale and polish. That's £20.
Does that include the exam?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So band 1 is a cleaning exam and X-rays for $30. Band 2 is how many pounds? How many dollars?
£56. So it's probably about $70.
And that's for fillings,
root canals, things like that.
So if someone came in the NHS and needed a root canal, they'd pay $70 US.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you go, okay. So and then band 3 is what?
£244. So I don't know what that is, but $350, I'd imagine. Okay. Something like that.
And band 3 covers what?
Like crowns, bridges, dentures. So as you can see, that's quite a challenge when you go, right, if you want to implant.
Well, let me get specific. So what if I came in and needed 1 filling band 2? Would I just pay 56 pounds?
That's
And
it. Yeah.
what if
That's
I
all you
needed
pay.
2 fillings?
It's that times 2.
Oh, so you pay $56 for each. So on band 1, you'd pay 20 pounds for the x-rays, 20 pounds for the scaling and polishing, 20 pounds for the exam?
No, that would, the £20 would cover the exam, scale and polish. It would, yeah.
And exam?
So, yeah.
Okay.
And 2,
And then band 2, 56 pounds, that's for each filling and each root canal?
yeah.
So you get paid 56 pounds for, the dentist gets 56 pounds to perform a root canal.
Yeah.
And you go to Paris and Tokyo, and it's about $100 US.
Yeah.
And then the government is shocked when dentists say, I can't do the best root canal or filling. I can't do a root canal for $100. I mean, in America, it's at least $600. If you're not taking insurance, it's $1,200. So that's why implants and Invisalign are exploding, because the governments in Japan and Paris and London don't control that fee.
Yeah.
So you can charge what the market will bear, and
Yeah.
you can actually make a profit. So they're usually using these government schemes to get a base of patients, and hopefully out of their base of patients, which they can't do quality dentistry and make money, they're trying to upgrade a percentage of their practice to implants and Invisalign. Is that a fair assessment of what I just said?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. And that's the jump for the patient that's quite difficult sometimes, is when they're used to paying those prices for their usual dental treatment.
But
and then
how many root canals do you think could have been done to save a tooth, but for $70, a dentist in Paris, Tokyo, and London just say, I'm not going to do that root canal on a molar for $70. I'm just going to extract it and do an implant for $1,500 US. Do you think that happens?
Yeah, yeah, they do, but it's difficult for them to make that jump, really. But us English, we've got a bad reputation for our teeth. Unfortunately, people think we're like Austin Powers, like have those sort of teeth.
Well, I'm 100% Irish, and we have a reputation that we drink too much. But the truth is, only 38% of us Irish are alcoholics. 2 out of 3 are. That's a bad reputation. But yeah. So okay. So back to, so do you guys also sell implants?
Yes, at BTI we sell our own implants that works with the PRGF. So it's a super hydrophilic implant in terms of it's very sponge-like for the plasma to soak in. But also we've done a surface modification, so it releases calcium ions. So we've done a basic study where you can dip it into a bowl of blood. You leave it there for about 10 minutes, and within 10 minutes, it will clot that entire bowl of blood. So it's quite a cool thing to watch. It looks like some CGI'd or something, the video, but you can actually see
is that the only dental implant system that comes out of Spain?
Yeah, there's surfaces out there that say they have calcium, but there's not a surface out there that has the modification we've got that releases the calcium, because we've done a study up against all the market leaders in the implant world, and the SLA Active by Straumann is considered one of the best implant systems out there. And that doesn't, even though it's very hydrophilic and you dip that side on side with our implant at the same time, if you pull them out, you're going to get some blood on the threads of the implant of the SL Active. But with ours, you're going to clot that entire bowl of blood, and you're going to not be able to even see the implant when we pull it out. So that's quite a unique thing. And also Professor Lang, who's a big professor who's written a lot of articles about the SLA Active. He's a bit of a Straumann guy. He's written 3 independent studies comparing the SLA Active against the BTI implant, which is called Unica. And we came out better in all 3 studies. So, this is why I've been with the company for 7 years, is because we're not very well known, but the stuff we do is bloody brilliant.
No pun intended. So Noble Biocare is from Sweden, and Straumann's
Yes.
from Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
And BTI, is that the only implant system that comes out of Spain?
No, there's quite a few others. It's a bit like Italy. There's like 1,000 implant companies. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm glad I don't work there because I would be batting off any Tom,
Yeah,
Dick, and
Italy. I mean, Italy probably has 100 dental implant companies, don't they?
probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Why
that's fine.
is that?
I don't know. It's just one of the. It's always been a way. I think anyone with a access to a titanium rod and something to mill a surface out of it, and a lot of these companies as well, they go to the same surface company. You know, there's like companies out there that specialize in surfaces, and there's like 5 or 6 implant companies that will send their implant to get done there. Years ago, I used to work for this German company called Alltronics, and the manager one day got marched off the premises, and we later found out that he was starting up his own implant company, duplicating the implant we were manufacturing at the plant in Germany. So it's quite an easy thing for people to do, I think. So maybe that's why everyone's doing it, and the profit's quite high in terms of, you know, it costs pence to make a implant, and they sell for hundreds of pounds. So
Yeah. So how many dentists are in the UK?
oh, good question. I think it's I'm not sure, to be honest.
Last I saw was 19,000. But my question is going to be, what percent of those 19,000 are still NHS dentists?
Oh, I'd say the majority, and the majority have. They might even keep a little bit of an NHS contract going, so they do their NHS, but as well as doing their private work, a sort of split between
what percent of the dentists do have nothing to do with the NHS? Set their own fees for cleaning, exams, X-rays, filling, and do not register with
I'd
the
say
NHS.
about 15-20%, something like that.
But
it's
that's
not
high. That's very high. 15 to 20%. That's 1 in 5.
Yeah, I mean, people are moving that way. I think now we're in a general election, but concessive governments have basically tried to get rid of the NHS stealthily. You know, it's especially the Tory party, the Conservatives in the UK. They're quite well known for wanting to privatise a lot of it. They've sold a lot of it off already, and so that's one of the big issues over here in the UK is, you know, NHS, is slowly sort of getting more privatised. So yeah, it's the way it's going. But the way they've made it is they've made the NHS unworkable, really. So people are sort of forcing to sort of go private because you can only get the very, very basic. So if you're in pain, go to the NHS dentist. But anything that's going to actually look good and function well, you really need to pay private. That's the way it sort of seems to be, really, because say even if you wanted a filling, they're going to use like a non-precious metal. It's going to be the worst sort of quality thing you could possibly get.
I know. I mean, I've been in dental offices in Tokyo and Paris and London where they get basically $100 for a root canal, and yeah, I mean the files that do the best root canals are $7, $10, $12 a piece. I mean, to do a perfect case, you couldn't even go through 7 files, and you didn't even get your money back to pay for the file.
Yeah. I'll tell you what else is like a really big area for dentists now is facial aesthetics.
Is what?
Facial aesthetics.
Facial aesthetics. I was going to stop you and say, I bet you're going to say sleep apnea, but it's facial aesthetics.
Very true. That's growing, but it's still just coming in now because it's been quite a grey area legally for a while, but that sort of hoop has been hurdled through. So sleep apnea is very big.
But so facial aesthetics, you mean cosmetic dentistry, or do you mean Botox and
fillers? Yeah, and this is an area where my company's growing as well, is the fact that you can use the blood plasma as a way to fill out wrinkles. So essentially we're making these gels, right, that sort of, you know, you use to graft with. But if you pour it, inject it in liquid form into the tissue, you can actually plump out the wrinkle You can actually add a lot of hydration. You can, we get a lot of good results with scar tissue and dark circles, which I need. And
How old are you?
I'm 42.
Oh, you're too young. Hell, I'm 54. By the way, I just want to say one thing for the record. Everybody always accuses me of doing Botox and fillers and getting my pictures photoshopped, but I want you to tell you, this is all natural. I am all natural. This is nothing fake about me. But so, is this taking off? I mean, and is this more, you're selling this to dermatologists, or are you selling this to dentists?
Dentists. Yeah, because it's dentists are really getting into this now, because in the UK, actually in Spain, you're not allowed to do it, but in the UK, a dentist is allowed to infiltrate anywhere. As long as he's done the relevant course, you can do it. But in Spain, they can only do around the mouth. So the good selling point with the PRGF is the fact it's natural, so it's holistic. So, you know, you're not going to have something foreign in your body. And also the fact that, you know, you get very good skin luminosity. And the fact that you look natural. So it's not like, you're not going to look like Nicole Kidman after it. You know, your friends are going to notice you look good, but they're not going to go, oh my God, you know. Because recently I've done a dental talk show on a lady called UK Barbie. She wants to look like Barbie, which is like a doll, basically. So she's taken facial aesthetics to the wrong end of the spectrum. She's really overdone it. And this was going to be for a TV show as well on Channel 5 in the UK, where they usually get people who are freakish a little bit. You know, there's a guy who wants to look like a Ken doll on there. But we did a PRGF treatment on her because she's had so much Botox, so much fillers and things. We're like, we just can't ethically treat you with more Botox or more fillers. So we did the PRGF, and you know, the skin looks amazing afterwards. So this is another big area for us. But another thing we do is, like you said, the sleep apnea. That is a huge part of the market at the moment. The first time I saw sleep apnea was actually when I was in the States. I went to a conference in Washington, D.C. My missus was over there at the time, and being a nerd that I am, rather than go and see the sights, I went to a dental conference about sleep apnea. And I thought...
Now, you used to work for Dentsply, and Dentsply's in York, Pennsylvania, but they just got married with Sirona out of Germany. What city are they in Germany?
Hanau, is it? Somewhere like that.
But then you also work for Danaher, which is headquartered in Washington, D.C. So was that when did you go to that, were you going to Washington, D.C. when you worked for Danaher?
No, just as a sort of trip with my missus, was working over there, and I went over there. But I've been over to Orange County, and that you had offices over there with Dentsply and sorry, with Danaher. So yeah, I've had a good opportunity to travel quite extensively with my company. But yeah, Washington DC was the first time I saw sleep apnea. I sort of assumed, because I was like, there was about 100 people in this room to listen to this conference. And you try to get 100 people in a conference in the UK, it's quite a difficult thing. So I was quite impressed, and I thought it was down to maybe obesity. Like, I was completely naive. I thought like that like sleep apnea was maybe really big in America, because obviously you're well known for being a bigger, bigger people. There's quite a lot of larger people, let's say.
We lost our #1 status at the World Health Organization. We were the most obese country. We were always the winners, and now we fell to second place and got the silver. You know which country beat us?
Us?
No.
Oh.
Our neighbor Mexico has 100 million people, and their obesity rate is now higher than the United States.
Oh, wow.
But I know what that feeling is, because being Irish, we're #2 in alcoholism, and we're #2 to Russia. And we just, either Russia's got to sober up or the Irish need to drink more if we're ever going to be #1.
Well, yeah, my brother's getting there as well. He does those eating competitions. He's like a speed eater.
Your brother is?
Yeah. He eats, but the way his tactic for eating these competitions is just to eat normal, and he ends up winning. So go figure. But anyway, getting back to sleep apnea, I went to this conference and I thought it was like you had to be fat and all the rest of it. But since I've been doing it and learning about it, I've met people as thin as sticks and that are very fit physically. So like physically, you can't look at someone and go, oh, I think they may have sleep apnea. But this is another area our institute is getting into. But we've had to hold off a little bit just because of the regulations and things to do with sleep apnea, because we've brought out a device that actually diagnoses sleep apnea. So the patient, you'd give it to a patient, it's a little box, they'd wear it on their chest, and then they'd take that home with them, and it's got a sensor that you'd put on the ring finger, and then it's got a cannula that sits under your nose that sort of measures your snoring. So they wear that overnight, they bring it in the next day to the practice, and you can actually run a sleep study. It'll tell you how many apneas you've had, your oxygenation, your pulse, snores, and your body position. So now dental clinics can sort of set themselves up to be deal with sleep apnea. I think it's been heavily undiagnosed in this country. A lot of people have it and they're unaware that they've got it. I think this is going to be a huge thing over the next couple of years, and we're sort of at the forefront of that with this diagnostic software.
You worked for, I don't know who's bigger, Dentsply now that it merged with Sirona, or Danaher. Yeah, I mean, one of them is number one, one of them is number two, because you work for Ivoclar, and that would be about the same size as about the dental division of 3M, SB. But what was it like working for the two biggest companies in dentistry? Was that a lot of learning, a lot of information? What was that like?
It's like a baptism with fire with me, because it was because I was a dental technician. Dentsply were the first people that should give me a chance to sort of get into this side of things. So I'm forever always grateful to Dentsply for doing that, because they always go, we want a guy with such and such experience, years experience and sales experience, and this is all stuff I didn't have, but they knew that I had the skills to actually know the products, and they chucked me on a lot of courses while I were there. So it was really good in terms of their sort of helping me sort of transition from working at a bench to actually talking about stuff rather than actually doing it, which is a completely different skill, having to communicate stuff, because I was very good at making stuff, but I was also quite good at showing other people and training people. So yeah, it was good. And also Danaher were very good as well in terms of, but there's a lot of cogs in there, to get things done. They've got like a 5-year objective. So if the industry changes like it always does, they've already set their target and they're aiming for that target. So it's the size of company I'm in at the moment is quite good, because we can sort of adapt with the trends. I'm pretty much can do things. I haven't got a huge amount of people I can go through. There's no middle management as such. Well, not many. So if I needed to speak to the owner of the company, Eduardo, I could email him. So that's the good thing about working for these smaller companies and these bigger companies, that's for sure.
Yeah, so what's your goal with the dentaltalkshow.com?
So my goal is really, if there's anyone out there who has got anything interesting, cutting edge, or anything useful, or think that my audience might and your audience might find interesting, please get in contact with me at my email address, dentaltalkshow@gmail.com. But the objective really is just to show what's out there, what all the latest things are, like 3D printing, intraoral scanning, the materials that we're using, and like you say, sleep apnea, that's a big one. So you can come check out my YouTube channel, hit subscribe. You can visit the website if you've got any questions or anything, any comments about how bad that episode is or how good it is. You can like it or dislike it.
So you're looking for trolls. You're looking for trolls.
I want my own stalker.
See, I can't be a troll because trolls have that long hair. I don't think there's any bald trolls. Do you think 3D printing building up an object will replace CAD CAM milling down an object?
That's a good question. I've done an episode with a laboratory in London called Nimro Dental, and they've got some of the most cutting edge 3D printers there, and they've got one that will print models, like 100 models in a couple of hours, and they've got ones that do more intricate things. And they were led to believe when they first bought these things that it's all plug and play, you know, you just scan an object and it'll 3D print it over here. That's not the case. They've had a huge learning curve to sort of get this sort of perfected. But the thing they were telling me that was quite interesting is just the materials now. So it's good in dentistry, but if they can change the materials where it's biocompatible, you know, they can start building these things up in cells instead of plastics. And they've actually recently built up a 3D print of a heart, because they're very close to Harley Street, which is where all the main dental practices are, and also all the main surgeries and plastic surgeries, and like anything in medicine, it's Harley Street in London is the best known place for these kind of things. They're actually doing there was a doctor there doing a heart operation on a child, and so they did a 3D scan of the child's heart, and they 3D printed the heart, and so the surgeon could practice the surgery before he actually opened up the child to do the surgery. So, you know, if they can change the materials so it's actually building up the heart in actual biocompatible stem cells, then, you know, that it's going to be amazing, you know, and we're not far off, I don't think.
It's so interesting that your most viewed, you have 60 shows on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And the most viewed show is dental reception training. And that does not surprise me, because dentists are finally finding out that the biggest constraint they have is 3 potential new customers call an office before your receptionist can convert one of them to come in. So they're losing 2 out of 3. And then when they do come in, you have to get 3 people that each have a cavity for one of them to accept and pay for treatment. So every time you do a filling, that was from 3 to get that one. And from that 3 took 9 calls to get in those 3. So the funnel is 9 to 3 to 1. And dentists are starting to realize, just like they blamed everything on their lab, you know, they do these marketing campaigns. They blame everything on the marketing person, saying, well, that ad didn't work. You did a direct mail, Facebook ad, Google ad. That was horrible. No, it wasn't horrible. They just had to generate 9 people for you to do 1 filling. And if you would train your receptionist to answer the phone like they do, and if you would quit naming her a receptionist and start calling her sales, incoming calls, telemarketing, whatever it takes, start teaching them closing skills. So as someone comes in, someone calls, they convert them to come in. And then when they come in, you know, if the dentist would work on selling what they're doing, and if you could get it from 3 getting 1 in to just 2 to 1 in, and then if just 2 people each had a cavity to get one of them to do it, I mean, you would double your business. So tell us about that video, and why do you think it's your most viewed video on your YouTube channel, Dental Talk Show?
Well, dentists, dentists love their gadgets. You know, I go into so many dental practices and they've got, you know, everything. But I always say to them, the most important tool they've got in their practice is that telephone. Because if you've spent millions on your marketing and your website and your videos and your YouTube channel and all the rest of it, it can all go to waste when they finally pick up that phone, ring your office, and your receptionist doesn't have a clue how to answer it or take down the information, basically. So this video, it's only like 6 or 7 minutes long, but in that 6 and 7 minutes, you get a very basic nuts and bolts about how to, because people don't like to be selling, you know, because the first question they'll get thrown is, how much is it? And, you know, it's a way of sort of explaining that and getting away from that question of, you know, someone just ringing in just to find out how much you are compared to Joe Bloggs down the road. So the 3 questions really the receptionist needs to ask is, what is it you want to achieve? When did you become aware of this problem? And is there now a reason why you want to have this treatment now? So that's the 3 questions that are vital to get all your history. If you ask those 3 questions, you'll get a complete historical thing about what the patient wants, what they want to achieve, and why they want to do it now. And also collecting the data, so collecting their name, smiling when you pick up the phone, also naming the name of the practice when you answer the phone. You know, you spent all this £1 million on marketing and you don't even say the name of the practice. And so, you know, a lot of these things are very simple, but people forget to even ask. You know, they put the phone down. By the time they put the phone down, they've forgotten who's called. They've not taken their phone number down or details or got anything from them. So that's why it's popular, I think, is because it's very good information. It's by a lady called Tracy Stewart, who I highly recommend if there's any dental practices out there running into any issues. She comes into your practice, and her company name is NBS Training, and it stands for No Bull Swear Word.
You can't say bullshit on Dentistry Uncensored. This is almost like a church you're in right now. Yeah, you know, I wish tell Tracy Stewart I'd love her to come on the show. Yeah,
please. Yeah, I will. I'll pass the message on. She'd love to do it.
And another thing I wish you would do is take some of these YouTube videos, like that dental reception one, and maybe that plasma one, but whatever, and email them to Howard@dentaltown.com and CC my son Ryan at dentaltown.com, and we'll put a couple of these at the end so they can see if they're so they can see your stuff.
Oh, thank you. That'd be great.
I'm like say I called you. You didn't call me. I'm a big fan of yours.
Well, I'm just really chuffed that you've taken the time to call me all the way from the States. So I'm actually going to America in July. So
where are you going?
I'm doing the whole California highway. So I start from San Francisco, working my way all the way to San Diego, going through many different places.
The best vacation I ever did with my 4 boys is I have a big old an RV, you know, the recreational vehicle, and we drove from Phoenix to San Diego, and then we drove up the 101 highway all the way to Canada.
Oh wow! Okay.
We drove the whole west face, and we just it was just so darn fun, you know, just in an RV, and some of those RV parks were on the ocean. Some of them were, I mean, some of those KOA campgrounds are nicer. They're just incredibly nice. And I want to ask one more dental question.
Okay.
Have you heard of a friend of mine, Dan Fisher with Ultradent Dental?
Can't say I have.
Well, anyway, Dan Fisher started a bleach way back in the day, and it was called Opalescence Bleaching. It's when the tooth whitening came out. And I mean, this is way back in the 80s. My God, England was the hardest country to get bleaching legalized. I think he spent well over $1 million in legal fees and went before judges and this and that. And I mean, it was like trying to get a chemotherapy drug approved. I mean, and a lot of people have told me that the United Kingdom, that's a very conservative dental organization. I mean, it's hard, you know, it's not laissez-faire in the dental industry in the UK. Do you agree with that or disagree?
Yeah, I do. There's unfortunately a lot of reports in the papers from people doing them at, you know, in dodgy places. You know, it's been a grey area for some people because the peroxide in the bleach wasn't the peroxide allowed wasn't really great. So people were using a lot stronger stuff than was legally allowed, but it's kind of sort of turned a blind eye to that sort of thing. But yeah, bleaching's quite a big thing now in the UK.
And I want to ask you one. You're never supposed to talk about politics, sex, religion, violence, but I don't want to get into politics or that. But I do. For the people listening around the world, you know, you guys have a lot of newspapers, and in everyone its own country, they know which newspapers are like really good journalism and which ones are tabloid, sensational, crazy. Um, will you give us a rundown of which London newspapers would you say, if you're reading them online, you'd say, yeah, that's a really good, credible journalism, and which ones are like, oh, they're just trying to say a bunch of crazy stuff to sell a bunch of ads, and you know what I mean? Tabloid versus professional journalism.
Yeah, everyone's quite blatant with their bias now. The papers are very at the moment they're sort of making Jeremy Corbyn, who's the Labour Party guy, as a sort of a socialist, sort of Marxist IRA sympathiser. But like, I think the British public are a bit more clever. I read a lot of papers that I completely disagree with, but I like to read them and just get the other opposing point of view. But I don't, just because I read that paper doesn't mean I believe with their policies and what they believe.
Well, I'm not talking about agreeing with the paper's policies, but I mean just agreeing that all the information is true. You know, the journalism is professional, that they're just trying to tell you the facts. Or would you say they're all biased?
Mostly all biased. This is why I've turned sort of to online stuff for my news because, and things like Twitter and things, they're a lot quicker at telling the truth. Like recently we had like the attacks in Manchester and things like that. The first time I found out about it was Twitter, because people are tweeting about it at the venue as it's happening. So I get a lot of my sources from actually people. Everyone with a phone now is their own reporter,
That's
true. I don't really. I watch the footage raw from the Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and then sometimes you can watch the news afterwards and see how they've put their spin on the video that you saw, and maybe cut the bit at the end and the cut at the beginning to sort of do it. But we've got papers owned by what's his face?
Rupert Murdoch.
Rupert Murdoch, yeah. And so, I tend to online really, and I sort of I think like most people, I fall sort of in the middle. But at the moment, everything's either far right or far left. There's nothing really in the middle. But there you go. It's
true. I think journalism. I mean, the politicians in the United States for almost 30 years have only had an 11% approval rating, which means 89% of Americans don't even approve of their own government. And I think newspapers are right behind them. But hey, Ryan, what we're going to do is that's been an hour, but I want to segue off and show my homies some of his amazing YouTube videos. So I told him to pick a couple of his YouTube videos. And hey, Nick, we're gonna end and go to your YouTube videos. I just want to tell you that it was a real honor that you came on the show today. I'm a big fan. I hope everybody goes to dentaltalkshow.com. You got to subscribe to his YouTube channel. And again, if you only got 60 videos, it'd only take you 1 hour. Start a thread and post those on the Dental Town message board so everybody can see all the different titles, all your work, and I bet your YouTube channel will explode.
Fantastic. I will do that this weekend. Thanks very much. I really appreciate this talk, and I hope to see you soon.
But now my homies are going to want to hear from your boss. My gosh, they're going to want to hear from Eduardo. Tell Eduardo the same thing. He should come on the show. And then on the Dental Town app and online, we've put up 411 online CE courses, and they've been viewed almost 1 million times. So going around lecturing in the flesh is slow. He could take that time, record one, make it an online CE course. There's actually 2 million dentists online. I mean, 2 million. There's 211,000 in the United States, 150,000 in Brazil, 150,000 in China. I mean, it's all over. And he could reach more of them quicker digitally, online, YouTube, Dental Town, than ever riding around the countryside doing in the flesh programs.
I will definitely do that. He's an amazing guy, and he's even done TED Talks.
Oh my gosh!
Some of the things he's done. So he's very good. He's friends with quite a lot of celebrities and the King of Spain and all the rest of it. He's a big fish, really, but he's very humble. Like he's built a great business.
It seems like all my dental friends in the UK, their number one resort that they want to go on vacation is Spain on the Mediterranean.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's if you love tapas, everyone there as well is so healthy. Everyone is like beautifully healthy because they got lots of they eat tapas, so they eat for a long time, for 2 hours, but they're eating little bits and bobs. They drink wine, really nice wine, and they love their steak. Steak is amazing. So yeah, if you're a meat eater, it's great.
Do they serve whiskey for the Irish and vodka for the Russians? Or
Yeah, they actually
wine?
do. Yeah, they do a very good gin, I find, as well, called Nordet.
Gin? Gin is a British thing. You know why the British like gin?
No.
There's a ingredient in there that was quinone, which they thought when they were, the sun used to never set on the British Empire, and they were in all these tropical parts with malaria, and they really believed and thought it helped them resist malaria. And then it turned out later that it actually had an anti-malaria component. Of course, for a more effective treatment, it would have needed to be higher concentrations, but gin was the beverage of choice for anybody sailing around the world where there was malaria.
Oh, right. It is now anyway. It's really, really come back. Like everyone with a garden shed making implants, I was saying earlier. Now everyone's making gin in the UK.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. Have a rockin' hot day.
Hi, and welcome to a special episode of the Dental Talk Show. I'm your host, Nick Peters. So here we are in the heart of London at Lister House, and I'm here today with Dr. Carl Manham, and I'm here with a Channel 5 crew who are filming an episode of Botched Bodies. We basically have a patient that's come in today who's had some implants placed abroad. They've not been put in properly, and they've started to fail because they're infected. And because of that infection, there's a loss of bone around the implant. So the best thing to do in this case is to pull that implant out, because it's never going to integrate however much we clean it. So we're going to place a new dental implant into the socket, and we're going to place PRGF, which is plasma-rich and growth factors, around it to help grow and regenerate the tissue. And PRGF is a way of utilizing the patient's own blood to help heal themselves. So basically we take a small amount of blood, we spin it for 8 minutes, and separates all the red and white blood cells that fall to the bottom, and it leaves us with the plasma at the top. The plasma, if you add calcium to it, turns it from a liquid into a jelly, is the best way to describe it. And then this jelly is then utilized to place where we want to grow and accelerate the healing process. Patients find that there's also less swelling because we're not using the white blood cells, which contain the leukocytes, which are responsible for inflammatory effect. Also, there's something within the plasma itself that we've actually found that has an anti-inflammatory effect to it. So the good news to the patient is the fact they have a lot less pain, and also they get an accelerated healing process that takes place. So it's a very untraumatic technique for the patient, because you don't have to do a bone graft, you don't have to do anything that's too nasty. All you need to do is take a little bit of blood, and that's basically it. So to summarize how to get a failing implants out of a patient, this is one way of doing it. You can use a BTI explantation kit, which contains a torque wrench and the various externa and interna implant extractors. Take for example this case, you've got a patient with initial stage of bone resorption. So the first thing you do is cut open a flap. You then manually insert the extractor in the implant internal thread in order to ensure its fixation. You then connect the 200 Newton centimeter counter torque wrench and turn it in a counterclockwise direction. Torque is applied gently in counterclockwise direction until the implant is fully extracted. Once you've moved the implant, you can then remove a lot of the gunk that's in there. You do some alveolus scraping. You then wash the alveolus with metronidazole, and then lastly you fill the defect with as much fibrin to help regenerate the bone there, and of course run a suture through it. So there you have a simple way to extract an implant that's failing. So thanks very much for watching this week's Dental Talk Show. Please remember to hit subscribe, and please remember to comment down below, and also share amongst your friends in the dental industry and spread the word, and I'll catch you next time.
Welcome to the Dental Talk Show. My name is Jordan.
And my name's Jay.
The Dental Talk Show is the place to come to find out the latest news, views, politics, products and techniques used in the dental industry today.
And on this week's Dental Talk Show is Tracy Stewart's Treatment Coordinator Training.
This is Tracy Stewart from MBS Training. I'm a practice development specialist, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the treatment coordinator role. To many dental practices, a treatment coordinator is a luxury. It's on your wish list. Every practice needs a treatment coordinator. A treatment coordinator is the bridge between the dentist and the patient. The treatment coordinator is the person that's actually going to manage the patient around the practice. And the benefit to you as a clinician is this takes away all the non-clinical time that you would spend with a patient. And if you were to add that up over the course of the day, that would actually cost you quite a bit of money. So your treatment coordinator would actually meet with your patient and find out all the emotional reasons and factors around why your patient is looking to have some dentistry, be it some implants, to have a white smile or a straight smile. The patients are happier to talk to a team member about the reasons why they want to actually have a nicer smile, which means the treatment coordinator has converted that patient from a free consultation to a fee-paying patient when they see you. So when they actually meet with you next time, they have already decided that they want to have the treatment. So as long as you don't hurt them and you're nice and you smile, the treatment has already been sold. The beauty is there is no pushy, hard sales. It is a treatment coordinator that has been trained to find out what your patient wants, and your treatment plan would actually meet the needs of your patient. Here are my 5 steps to a perfect treatment coordinator interview. So first of all, you're going to meet and greet the client and make them welcome. Secondly, you're going to find out about them. So if your receptionist has already got some information about the patient, make sure that you have this, because you don't want to be asking the same questions that your receptionist has already asked. It's not going to make you look very professional. Then you would ask a couple more of open-ended questions, which would typically be a what, when, why, how question. You would then actually take some photos of your patient, just a front view and maybe a couple of side views, and pop the actual tablet or whatever it is that you're going to use, or put the photos up on a screen. And here is where the magic happens. Give the patient a pen to hold and invite them to actually show you what it is that they would like to change, not using any negative words, as in hate or dislike. The patient will then show you what it is that they want to actually change. You can then show the patient some examples of cases that you've completed, and you can show them some testimonials, and you can actually show them different ways of actually spreading the cost of the treatment. If you follow these steps, the patient will pay in full for the next appointment, which is typically your comprehensive assessment, and they are already converted and accepting to actually paying for the implants or cosmetic smile, because you have already built the relationship with the patient and they are buying what they want with no pressure and no hard sale tactics.
Thanks for watching the Dental Talk Show this week. Please hit subscribe, follow on Twitter, and also download from iTunes. Don't forget to visit the website at www.dentaltalkshow.com and add your comments below. Catch you later, next time.